we're glad that you join with us, and we encourage you to get more people to get on these, because this is going to be very interesting. It's a grant that we got and we're working on, so I think this would help a lot of groups a lot throughout the country. How's that?
You did great, Brian. Too far. Hi, everyone. This is Teresa Moore, and I'm working with SABE on the project. Like Brian said, we are very happy to have you attend today. We are going to be talking about building community partnerships. And our community grant, just so you have a little background, we conducted a national survey with over 100 surveys received so far to help us decide what these webinar topics would be about. And it includes over half of the states have participated. And the biggest project that it has is to create a resource center on the SABE website, and that will be designed by the planning committee so that everything is user-friendly, that the best of the best has come to SABE, and we as a committee put together a resource center that's really helpful to a lot of groups. And just want to say welcome. Go ahead. Oops. So as Brian said, we really could use your support on getting some more resources for the resource center. And go ahead. Is Chiquetta on the line, please? Okay. Since Chiquetta is not online yet, I will go ahead and continue with the purpose of today's webinar. The webinar is all about building partnerships, and we kind of think of building partnerships as all about making connections, and that's critical to everyone. And then when you have those partnerships, how to make them strong. And we believe that that happens when you share the work, and that's the center part of the relationship. And then the keeping of the relationship, the partnership success, is all about the progress of each partner. And you'll hear that sometimes when you listen in meetings and things, that, oh, we did most of the work and it was really hard for us to participate because we were doing all the work and didn't feel like there was a balance of work being done. Next. So building partnerships. Is Chiquetta on the line yet? Okay. Building partnership is all about who knows who and who knows where to find the people. You ask yourself the different questions about yourself at your self-advocacy group. You ask, who is your self-advocacy group and who are your allies and the groups that they're part of. Sometimes it's hard unless you get asked a very specific question to answer it in a way that's really helpful to self-advocates. So we actually need to ask self-advocates and our allies, what groups are you part of? oh, I never talked about that group before at this meeting. I'm glad that we're bringing that up now. So that's really helpful in building partnerships, is to make sure that you do know what groups your members and your allies are part of. Each person should believe in the mission of the group. And that's all about, do you, as members of your group, your self-advocacy group, do we know what our mission is? Sometimes when we go to the meeting, they can't answer that question. Or it takes 3 or 4 people to put that together and make that statement, because some people have some pieces of it and other people have the other pieces. And how can you fully support something if you don't know what it is? Sometimes I think we forget when we have our meetings that there may be new people that are part of our group now, and so do they know the mission? Have they received that information? And the other thing that I kept reading when I was reading information about partnerships and how to make them stronger, it was being proud of the groups that you're connected to, and that you are proudly speaking about your self-advocacy meetings and group at other groups. And sometimes when I ask self-advocates that question, they're like, well, no, I do that with that group, or I do this with that group, or it's a social group and we don't really talk about things. Well, if it's social, let's try to talk about the self-advocacy group that you're part of. So it's all about talking about the group that you're part of and being really proud of it, and making sure that you do know the mission. And in some of the trainings that we're going to have, we're going to do what is called an elevator speech. And that elevator speech is, if you think about riding an elevator, it's only a few seconds, and then it's, you're gone. Your opportunity's gone. What if you walked into an elevator and there was somebody there that you have been trying to get a meeting with about funding your self-advocacy group, and here they are right in front of you? Can you tell them about your group in a way that's going to get them to ask you for your business card or give you their business card? And we will be talking about elevator speeches in some of the future trainings. So,
Hey, Teresa?
yes.
There was times that you sounded like a robot.
Oh,
and you were going in and out.
is it better now?
Yeah, it's better now.
I think Juliana adjusted it. So I'll just repeat a little bit of what I just said. Part of what we know and who we know is being able to talk with people at other groups that we're part of, and being able to proudly say that you're part of the self-advocacy group, and that we should, feel comfortable doing that, talking at our other groups about self-advocacy, whether those groups are social or maybe they're even political. Maybe you're part of a group that talks about public policy. Being able to talk about self-advocacy and how important that is in public policy could really, really be helpful to getting more people connected to your group and wanting to help you be successful. So this is one that Chiquetta was really excited about, and she felt that if there's a member that's part of a group, that they kind of act as a reporter back to each group. So if there's a member that's part of another group, let's say it's social, being able to tell them who you are and what you do and why it's important, but also coming back and sharing with the self-advocacy group your ideas, and if that group has any questions, maybe next time they want you to bring brochures instead, so that they can look those over, or maybe a short DVD or something like that that you could share with them. So you would bring back to your self-advocacy groups ideas that they have on opportunities to work together, the ability to ask questions to your self-advocacy group, and to work together. And you could invite a person from the other group to join your meetings too. So it is an opportunity that we want to take advantage of and make sure that those groups are connected in as many ways as possible. Go ahead. So we are connected by the values that we share. And even though that sounds like it would be easy, sometimes we have to look at the values of another organization and say, wait, what is it that they believe in? Because maybe we're not as in sync as we think we are. Or looking at their values statement and our values statement, we are connected in so many ways that we think that it would be a natural fit. And those may or may not be self-advocacy groups or groups that work with people with disabilities. We could have the same values as, say, temporary employment agencies around getting jobs for people. Maybe they have a statement that you go, oh, look at that. That's such an opportunity for us. Everything that has to do with relationship building and partnership building is all about sharing those values. And so they may come up in very unique places. For example, one that I've often thought of is the Office of Tourism. Tourism doesn't itself look like it's going to be something that we would do or use, even though we travel a lot as self-advocates. But the other thing is that tourism often gets money when other monies are not available. If there is the Super Bowl coming to your state for the first time, they build a whole community that's accessible. And so you could be part of that. You could connect with them and help them with some of their questions that they have. The next thing, though, is making sure that when you're working together that you share the responsibility, that there are things that you say you're going to do or not do, and that the partner feels like you are doing your part and feeling very comfortable with it, and working together, you can continue to divide that responsibility up over time. Next slide. I need you to minimize that, please. Okay, so this slide is very important. Brian, can you hear me okay?
I can hear you.
Okay. This helps us to look at building partnerships, and there's a lot of talk about allies and partnerships and what the difference is. Well, if you look on the slide, if you can see that slide, it says allies have common values. They share common values. They may have common goals. They may support you if asked. They may write a letter of support, but they are not currently working with you on any projects. So they're allies when they're not currently working on any projects with you. Partners share common values, have common goals, may support you if asked, may write a letter of support, and they're currently working on projects with you. And that should help us think about the different relationship types that we have in self-advocacy. And this was a quote from a coworker that we have, George Garcia, and he said, "Don't let perfect be the enemy of good. You may not agree with everything that your partner believes in, but you find common ground to work together to achieve common goals." So you may not believe everything that that temporary employer is working on, but they may be one of those places that could support you if you're trying to work on sub-minimum wage issues. So they could end up being an ally or a partner. And so take a look at different groups and find those common ground, common goals. Just one moment. We're checking for our next speaker. See if they've made it on with us. No. Okay. Our presenters from New York do not seem to be on. Are they on the telephone by chance? Okay. We're going to adjust slightly so that I can start to lead their presentation, and hopefully we're going to one of us are going to step out and check on them, see if they can join us. Okay. Click on that. Okay. So while we check on the folks from New York that let's see.
Oh, to me, yourself.
Mute the audience.
Oh, man. You're gonna have to go to 10. Click it. Click it. Click the plus.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, go back to the next one. Pardon me, we are checking on our presenters from New York to see if they are having difficulty getting in, but I will go ahead and begin their presentation. That's why everyone needs to be able to help each other when things happen. So I apologize, this is not coming from New York because I know that they would add in information, but they do have great slides, so I'm going to go ahead and start their presentation with the hope that they will join us. So this is the Self-Advocacy Association in New York State, and they are going to share with us some of the success that they've had around working with government partners and also in our partners in policymaking. This presentation was presented by Clint Perrin. He is the Director of Policy for the Self-Advocacy Association, and Bridget Cariello. She is part of the Long Island Regional Self-Advocacy, and she's the coordinator there. And they wanted us to have an overview of how things are set up. And it starts with the individual self-advocate, and then they become part of a self-advocacy group. And that group is part of a region. And the board, the statewide board, is those that manage the overall activities of the organization. So you can kind of see there, it's just like you imagine self-advocates getting involved, becoming part of a group, feeling more connected as a region, and really getting a relationship with the statewide board. The organization has been around for 26 years, and the Self-Advocacy Association is run by people with disabilities. They support all the key roles and activities. It is believed that the association is the catalyst for their organization and the driving forces behind changes. The People First legislation being passed in their state, and for the Person First name change of OMRDD, the Office for People with Developmental Disabilities. Individualized services and self-determination, and many more initiatives that directly affect people with disabilities. Here you see their structural chart that they made. What does the Self-Advocacy Association of New York actually do? And our self-advocate leaders sit on many committees with the government. They work with senators and legislators, commissioners of various offices, and other policymakers. So they make sure that they're positioned correctly to have a great deal of influence on what's happening in their state. And so you can see through this graphic that they are in key roles around self-advocacy and public policy, education, and many other different kinds of groups that they're part of. And they're also part of helping to close institutions. And they received the new 1115 waiver, and we'll have them come on another time and talk about that. That's a different kind of waiver that states can apply for to help individuals get services. And so a lot of this activity is around being presenters and public speakers in what's going on. And so we'll have them come again and tell us about that.
Yeah.
The association has, it teaches people their rights and how to navigate the system. And they work in all the different services area, in school and at home, at work, all the different services that people get. They advocate at the legislature around public policy related to services, and they influence change related to disability policy. They have a great focus on community awareness, basic rights and responsibilities. And they have internships and volunteer opportunities for people, which is a very creative way of looking at opportunities for people. If you want to give an internship, that would be really powerful, I think. And they have a youth team that works on mentoring and teaching others at schools. And they have self-advocacy groups and more. The long-standing relationship with the government is one of the partnerships that I asked them to talk with us about. And they have achieved this long-term relationship with the government partners, making sure that policymakers, when they're on their downtime and not in session, that they're already talking to them and getting them to help them understand what's going to be coming up in the next legislative session, and also giving the legislators information about what's important from the self-advocates. They have an open and honest communication and collaborations with all of those that they work with. The association has 20 years of trusted relationship with the Office of People with Developmental Disabilities, and over many years and multiple commissioners, which, you know, sometimes I thought it was because we changed commissioners, but they figured out how to be successful with multiple commissioners positions. And as a result, they have been strong during times of crisis in the policy and in the budget cuts. So they continue to develop those relationships even when the commissioners change, which is what I sometimes hear. You'll hear self-advocacy groups, well, when so-and-so was in office, we had it great, but we need to look ahead and say the future of commissioners when they change, being able to work with them. They also have, New York, have presented testimony at legislative and public hearings. They are sharing multiple platforms and, you know, being true to themselves and to their organization. They have had a consistent and significant progress on speaking up on policy changes. So they feel that they've become a lot stronger at being able to do that public speaking in those situations. So partners in policy making is a collaboration that they also wanted to talk with us about. Partners, if you have not heard of them before, Partners is about building leadership. It's called Partners in Policymaking, and it involves self-advocates and family members. And it's about building leadership for all of those that attend and having an understand and affecting policy. So if there's something going on at the time that they're in class, when they're taking partners, they actually work together to try to affect the policy that's happening at the time. And Partners believes that making real change. Partners is also in 42 states, and it's going strong. Each state has different programs. There is an application to be a partner, so you'll fill out the application, and again, as I said, it is for self-advocates and their family members. And what they like to see is a diverse coursework. You work on different issues and activities with the hope that you'll put together a final project. And you, as a partner, they hope that you'll continue to network with your classmates that you took the training with, and also out in the community, those that you've worked with around doing your public policy activities and such. And that they want you to continue to work on collaborative projects with other groups. The benefits of partners It's around building your statewide network. When they set up a lot of classes, for example, where I'm from in Arizona, they try to select individuals that represent the whole state and not just central location. And that makes it a little more challenging and a little more interesting because you want to make sure that you get the voices of that statewide network, and that the partners training is helping that statewide network to become stronger. You make great contacts and you share the work on projects and work together on advocacy issues. You will always continue to learn. Partners make you very curious and wanting to use what you have learned in class around advocacy. And Partners uses the media to stay connected and to get things done. This is the website for Partners in Policymaking, and you can check there and see that the state has Partners in Policymaking group, and if not, you can definitely contact your PD Council or your Protection and Advocacy Organization or your UCED, your University Center for Excellence, and ask them for a policy-making group, because it's a great way for self-advocates and family members to work together on the issues. And because we want to make sure that you can speak to those who wrote this presentation at any time, the webinar will be made available on our website just as soon as we can get it up there. And we will work on making sure that this gets out quickly up on SAVE's webpage so that you can view it again and get the information and call these guys and talk to them about it. They have all worked very hard and very closely together to make sure that this work continues. So we've got the partnerships and we're doing great, and we want to make sure before we move on, is there any questions that I can answer briefly? I know I won't have all of New York's answers, but is there any questions so far before we start the planning process? Okay. Hearing no questions at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Juliana to take you through the steps in planning.
All right, let me get this down a little bit here. All right, so when you're planning for building partnerships, there's several steps you want to take. And the first one is discuss with your group the needs and strengths of your organization. And you want to see what are the skills that everybody in your group has, and see where you guys can get help if you need help. But first you need to know what are you guys good at. And the next step is thinking of other organizations. What are the possible organizations that you would like to invite to be your partner? So think, who have you been working with, and what's out there in your community. A lot of times it could be a store next door. It could be another partnering organization that you have worked in the past. So just think about who would you like to invite, and then think, what do they have? What are they good at? What do they give out to the communities? And what are their weaknesses? Where can you help them? And think about how you guys can partner together with your strengths and weaknesses. And then again, as Teresa mentioned earlier, you have common goals. Are you guys working with the same target audience? Are you guys working on the same issues? Are you working in the same area? And step 3 is talk with your members to see if they know any organizations that share the same interests and goals as your group. So you could go around and ask each member, who do you know? Who do you do during the weekends at nighttime? And see if there's any, even family members too. Think about any family members that you may have and see if they can help with your organization. And then write all the names of the organizations that you are all thinking about, and then do some research. Go online and see what they do. See if they have the same interests and goals like your group. And it's very important to do this, because then if there's any questions that you may have that their websites may not have, then those are the questions you would want to ask them. So then in step 4, that's when you call the organizations. Find out who you talk to and see if they would be willing to work with you. And set up a time, make an appointment to meet with them and see if you can do something together. Step 5, if you guys come to an agreement, maybe you guys can do something together, but have something in writing so that each group knows what they are going to do. What are they going to be responsible for if you guys are going to be doing this project together? And also, the bigger the event, we recommend that both groups sign a contract so that you know which groups are doing. And that way no one's saying, well, you said you're going to do this and you said you're going to do that. But if it's in writing, then anybody will know, yes, we were responsible for that. And of course, don't agree to things that you cannot do. Remember, if you don't have the resources, the people, the money, the place to do it, then let them know that you cannot do it. All right. So those were the 5 steps. Now we'll have Nancy speak.
Are you on, Nancy? We're making sure that the technology is working for Nancy to be with us. I believe she was on. So we're just checking. Give us a moment, please. If you're with us, Nancy, just hold a moment. We're trying to make sure we have your audio working okay.
Yeah, comments and questions.
Pardon us just a moment. We're having a little bit of technical difficulty.
Click options. Attendance list. Click that plus. Check out the attendance.
Okay.
Or you click. You close.
Okay, so far we've talked about the different kinds of relationships that you need to have to be successful. And there are those different levels of relationships around the beginning relationship, when you're just getting to know each other, starting to practice the trust that you're going to build over time. And we definitely have some technical problems going on right now. Just one moment. Nancy. Nancy, can you hear us now? We've lost.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Okay. Would you tell us about the successes you've experienced? And we'll try to get our video fixed, but you're on audio right now, so everybody can hear you. Go ahead and tell us about the successes that you've had.
Okay, what I'd like to talk to you guys about today is working with your protection and advocacy organization. And every state has a P&A, and what the P&A is that it's the legal part of the DD Council and the USED. And so I work at RPNA, and one of my advisors for People First, and I went and talked to our PNA and about voting and partnering with them. And so what we did is we have a curriculum that Teresa and our friend Tia Nellis and I developed, and we took that to the PNA and asked them if we would be able to, if there was a way we could partner. So what we developed is, because they have AVA money, and that's the Help America Vote Act. So we worked with them where we would do the Project Vote training, and they would provide the transportation for people with disabilities to get to be able to do the training. And that's worked out very well, and over the years we've developed a relationship to where they help us with our conference every year, and they buy our t-shirts for us as long as we put their logo on our t-shirts. And one of the things that we started doing several years ago is doing scrapbooks so that people can tell their story by pictures. And so those are some examples of how we've worked together. And one of the things that I think that has been really exciting about it is that our PNA understands People First now and what People First is about, and People First understands what the PNA is about. And when you have a relationship it's important to trust each other and to believe in each other. And that can't happen without understanding, like Juliana was saying, what each of the organization does. So does anybody have any questions?
So Nancy, how long has this relationship been going on again?
We started this relationship in 2005. So it's been going on for 12 years.
That's great. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. I think that some of the thoughts were is that we had to volunteer for everything, and that some of those relationships would never really turn into employment. So it's really good to have an example where it has been successful and that the different organizations have supported each other to provide employment for self-advocates. And I can't think of anyone that I would appreciate more in that role than you. What a great mentor for the Protection and Advocacy Organization. Thank you so much, Nancy.
And you know, one of the other things that's cool about Teresa is that not only do I have a job with the Protection and Advocacy with ODLC, but the self-advocates that do the vote training are also paid. And so whenever we do a training, you know, it gives other self-advocates a chance to show what they can do and be proud of themselves, but also be able to have self-worth because they're being paid for it.
That's great. Thank you so much, Nancy. That is good to know that there's more self-advocates getting paid for the work that they do. Just a quick summary for what we talked about today. It's all about building strong partnerships, and it starts in that way that you don't really know where the relationship's going to go when you're first starting out, but you know that that organization is a group that shares common values and goals and wants to start working together. And you write down what each group has decided that they'll help each other do, kind of informally. And then as that relationship becomes mutually beneficial, kind of like each group is going to get something out of the relationship. Either they're going to be helping with their planning goals or something like that. So we look for the ways that it can go back and forth in the relationship and that each benefits from the relationship. And then we kind of do what Nancy has been able to do, is take a look back and see how it all started and how we have helped each other, and it lasts for a while. We trust each other. We're going to continue to work together. We're going to look for ways that we can work together just because we do work so well on different projects. And when those relationships become really where they have more and more responsibility for each group, you want to make sure that self-advocacy organizations get some kind of contract, especially when there's money involved. You want to make sure that everything is written down and that there's a contract that when there's money especially, that you agree to it on paper. And that also helps you if you start a project and it's going to be several years that you're going to be working on it together, because the next group that comes after you of leaders, you may have an election or something, they need to be able to have that contract to say, oh, we still have these responsibilities to finish up on for that project to be done. And so a contract makes it very, very clear exactly what's expected. I would like to thank everyone that could participate today. Brian and the Self-Advocates Becoming Empowered organization has done a wonderful job about modeling how to have partnerships, and that's how they've been so successful. The different folks that helped with the presentation, even though they could not be with us, the presenters, because it is their information, I did not create all of this. We have Chiquetta Stuckey, Bridget Cariello, and Clint Perrin, and Nancy Ward, and also Juliana presented a section. Juliana Guarena presented a section in the presentation today, and I hope that in the future we can have the actual presenters. Maybe we'll try this one again, because I think the information is very valuable. I appreciate everyone's patience with the technology today, and if you have any questions, my contact information is there on the presenters page.
Teresa, I have one question.
Uh-huh.
I want to know if I can have, like, the PowerPoint.
Yes.
A copy of the PowerPoint.
Yes.
Can you email them to me?
Yes, I could definitely email them to you. If anyone else wants their own copy of the PowerPoint right away, you can send me an email and I'll send that to you right away. And it will eventually be up on the Resource Center as a PowerPoint that you can watch and listen to with your own group, or just to see the different information that was provided. Again, it takes a lot of people to put together this kind of information. It seems really basic, but when you think about it, it's those little details that make everything valuable. Self-Advocates Becoming Empowered, Southwest Institute for Families and Children, and the Self-Advocacy Association of New York. And of course, we want to thank our funders, the University Centers for Developmental Disabilities, and we were funded by the Administration on Intellectual and Developmental Disabilities. Some of you may know it better as AIDD is the funder of this project. Is there any questions before we say goodbye for this one? Oh, I did forget that. The last thing, and I forgot it, everyone's been asking when the webinars are going to be happening and what are the topics that we have chosen. I do apologize for forgetting to mention that. This is the schedule of the webinars that we will be presenting, and you can see the different topics that have been selected through the survey process that we did for the webinars. The webinar team would like to take a look at how they're going somewhere in that middle space, and to have the opportunity to add in at the end what it is that the self-advocates and their groups and allies would like there at the end. So it may be something that one of the groups has written in, or it may be something that's still on the survey portion that's scored. There was a whole bunch of them that scored around the same amount of time. So those may be reconsidered, and we'll send that out as a survey by itself just to see if there's anything that we have planned and we don't have identified that people feel is really important. So thank you to the webinar team for having that forethought to say those last couple, we want to make sure the audience participates in making sure they get what they need before the project ends. So I do apologize. Would like to say I thank you again, and if you have any questions at all, please don't hesitate to email me. Thank you so very much.
Thanks.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Bill, did you have a question? Bill Story, did you?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You can ask your question, Bill. I'm still on.
Sure.
Oh, no. What the heck?
Did you have a question, Bill?
No, I didn't really.
Okay. Well, thanks for coming on. I appreciate it.
Thank you. It took me a while to get on.
Oh, it
I did
did?
it on the phone first. I did it on the phone first, and then I finally got the webinar to go.
Oh, okay.
And there you go.
Takes a little practice, huh? Thanks, Bill. We'll see you next time.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Yes, ma'am. Bye.
Bye-bye.